Welcome movie lovers. Today I am doing my 200 subscribers Q&A. Firstly, thank you all so much for subscribing to my channel and getting me to 200 subscribers. Well, a little bit past it now, but again, thank you all so very much. I did a Q&A when I hit 100 and I originally thought maybe I'd do something different at each mark, but I had such fun doing the first one. And it gives me a chance to kind of give back to all the people who have supported me, gives me a chance to promote some of their channels as thank you, and also gives you a chance to learn a little bit more about me. Just like last time, if you are someone who submitted a question and you don't feel like watching the entire video and just want to see the answer to the question you submitted, then just go down to the description box and you will find you tag there along with a timestamp, so you can just jump right ahead and see your part. Now, in the description box, along with all the timestamps, will be the links to everybody who submitted a question, their pages that they wanted promoted, whether it be a social media page, a website, or their YouTube channel. So be sure, if you're not subscribed or following them, then please check out the links below and go and check them out. You won't be disappointed. So let's get started. Daniel asks, if you could direct a movie, what movie would you make? Well, I'd make my movie. I'm in the process of writing my first script, which is called Nexus. Harris asks, what's your advice on dealing with trolls and haters? That's a very good question considering we're on the internet. I would say, firstly, ignore them. That's easier said than done and it takes practice. But for starters, if it's on Twitter, and it's just the occasional comment, you don't have to respond. You can just ignore it. You have that option, because the moment you kind of respond to it, you're just giving them what they want, and then other people are able to see them and they're getting attention, which is what they're after. If it goes into harassing territory, then definitely block them. If it is on YouTube, I do this personally, if you find any comments that are not in relation to the topic that you are discussing, or they're just hateful or mean, delete them. It is your channel, you have the power to do that, because if you keep them there, it just encourages other people to do it or starts stupid little fights and then somebody gets hurt. So definitely remove them. The Fresnerd asks, cuter introduction to our lives in 2017, Baby Groot or Porgs? Sorry, my answer's Baby Groot. I actually really didn't like the Porgs. I found them rather annoying, and I really wish that Chewie had just gone ahead and eaten them. Cinema Monologues asks, what is the movie scene like in Melbourne in terms of access to films, festivals, industry opportunities, and just life in general? My girlfriend is considering applying for a PhD over there, so I'm pretty curious. Firstly, good question, and congratulations to your girlfriend. Film scene in Melbourne, you know what, I'm not very social when it comes to films, but there is an endless supply of festivals, whether it be about films, music. I mean, there's like I feel like there's a festival going on every week. I mean, we have music festivals, film festivals, comedy festivals, we have everything. I mean, there is an abundance of stuff to do, not to mention education here in Melbourne is really, really good. In terms of the industry in regards to film and television, I think that there are a lot of good opportunities. For example, the high school I went to was actually very known for its theatre studies classes, and a lot of the people who went to my school actually ended up getting jobs in television, and which went on to film careers. Melbourne is beautiful. It is rich with culture, festivals, and opportunities, so I think that your girlfriend will actually enjoy it here. I mean, there's a reason why it's been, you know, dubbed the most livable city in the world for however many years in a row now. Rabia asks, what movie was the movie to get you into reviewing? Well, there's kind of two. The catalyst for me deciding that that's kind of something I wanted to do was 2014's Jezebel. It was a horror movie coming out, and I really was interested in it when I saw the trailers for it. I'm like, oh, I really want to watch this movie. And then I watched it, and I was so beyond disappointed that I was actually kind of angry. And I remember I posted this really long post on Facebook about it, which is essentially me reviewing it. And after that, I kind of got the idea, oh, maybe that is something that I can do, because I've always loved films, and I was kind of always the person who people came to for movie advice and tips. So that kind of, you know, was like dipping my toe in the water. But I officially, my first review that I did was for 2016's Deadpool. That was the first thing I ever officially reviewed and went, yep, this is what I'm going to do, because I just absolutely loved it. I couldn't remember the last time I had so much fun at the movies watching a movie, and I was just like, oh yeah, definitely have to write about this. So those two are pretty much the ones that got me going. Lauren asks, what do you think would be the hardest thing to give up, and why would it be hard to lose? This may sound superficial, but I will explain. The answer to that is my Charmed merchandise, and I will put pictures up somewhere here on the screen so that you can see what my collection looks like. I have been working on my Charmed collection since, oh goodness, since the early 2000s. The first thing I ever got was season 1 on DVD, and this one, America was the only place at the time that had the DVDs coming out, and they had season 1. They hadn't started the other seasons yet, and my sister had heard about it, and she got it, and she purchased it and had it shipped all the way here for me, and that started my collection. And Charmed for me has always been a sanctuary. It has been my safe place, my happy place, and so building this collection has always made me very happy. And if I ever lost any of those items, I would be absolutely devastated, because they just mean the absolute world to me. Not to mention, half of the things that I have in my collection are things you cannot purchase anymore. You cannot. It's impossible. You can't even find people selling them on eBay. So I have to date spent around $25,000 building my charm collection. So by now a lot of those things would be worth more than when I originally purchased them, but it's all sentimental. It's not about, oh, look what I did. It's, I have loved Charmed since it aired in 1998. It has meant the world to me. I have dealt with so much because of it and for it, and it has gotten me through so much that this collection means the world to me, and I could never bear the thought of losing it. Anthony asks, favorite rainy day movie? Well, that's a good question, and I'd say the answer is 1999's made-for-television version of Alice in Wonderland. The first time it aired on television here, it was aired because it was around Easter, and it was funny because the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland actually looked identical to the Cadbury bunny. So I was just like, oh, this is, for me, it was like an Easter movie. So I watch it every Easter, even though it has nothing to do with Easter. But I had gone to somebody's birthday party. I'd come home, it was raining outside, it was cold outside, and I came home and my mom had this beautiful fire going, and that movie was on the TV. So for me, that movie kind of represents warmth and comfort on a rainy day. And so yeah, that's definitely my go-to, because it just makes me think of coziness on rainy days. 20-word movie reviews asks, what are some of your favorite quotes from movies? Oh good god, there are so many. A couple of them definitely can be found in drag films. One in particular comes from The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, sorry. And that's when Bernadette says, that's just what this country needs. A cock in a frock on a rock. So, in context it's funny, but even on its own, that's just really good rhyming work there. Another one actually comes from Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and it's in my top 10 comebacks video. And it, again, Bernadette, they gave Bernadette all the good lines. And it was Bernadette talking back up, essentially telling somebody to piss off who was giving them a hard time. And she says, now listen here, you mullet. Why don't you just light your tampon and blow your box apart? Because it's the only bang you're ever gonna get, sweetheart. So good. Oh, another one would be from, I think it was Chicken Run. And it was one of the chickens, and she says, "My whole life flashed before my eyes, and it was really boring." I love that. Oh, I love that. That was a good one. Another one is from X-Men, and it was said by Mystique, and it's when she says, "You know, people like you are the reason I was afraid to go to school as a child." I think there are a lot of people that that line resonates with. Oh, but goodness, there are so many. There's Cher's monologue in The Witches of Eastwick. Oh, and Sally Field's little speech in Steel Magnolias after her daughter, played by Julia Roberts, passes away. Oh, so good. That one scene just completely encompasses the entire range of human emotion in just one moment. I thought that was great. Jonathan asks, what was your favorite movie when you were growing up? Ooh. That would be 1996's Scriptease. I know. That was bizarre, huh? So I was 5 years old when I started watching that. I didn't have permission. My brother had it on VHS, and I would always go into his room and steal his movies and watch them. And one of them was Scriptease. And I think the only reason I watched it is because he had movie posters with wooden backboards, and he had them all over his room, and one of them was for Scriptease. So when I saw he had it, I'm like, oh, what's that? So I went and watched it, and my mind, even though I completely understood all that stuff, my mind did not register that this was a movie about stripping, because essentially it's really not. I registered that this was a movie that had a great soundtrack, because most of the songs in it were performed by Annie Lennox, and my favorite song in it is Little Bird. Love it. And mostly, of course, it was about a woman trying to get custody of her child back from her psycho ex-husband. I'm like, some of that story really sounds familiar to me. But yeah, I was kind of obsessed with that movie, mostly for the music, because my family would sometimes come home or walk in, and I would be in the lounge room with this big vacuum cleaner, singing into the vacuum like it was a microphone stand to all the songs from Scriptease. Larry asks, who is your favorite superhero and why, and what superpower would you have? Excellent question. My favorite superhero is Aurora Monroe, aka Storm, who was sadly really not done any justice in the films. She's far more powerful in the comics than she is depicted in the movies, and that always strongly disappointed me. Not to mention, they never give really good reference to her culture, her heritage, you know, who she is. But yeah, I've always loved her, that white hair, and I love that she was Queen of Wakanda for a while. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, if they hadn't done Storm in the X-Men, even though they really should have, they just really should have done her character more justice. Yeah, if they hadn't done that, they totally could have brought Storm into the MCU, and you could see her, you know, marrying T'Challa and being Queen of Wakanda. That would be dope. I would live for that. As for what superpower, well, you know, I've got a few. One of them would be omnilingualism, which is the ability to understand and speak all languages in existence. Another one would be atmokinesis, which is essentially basically the power that Storm has, which is the power to control the weather, or the elements of the weather, or elemental manipulation, so you would have the ability to control and wield the power of all the elements. So any one of those, or all three, that'd be cool. Scriptease asks, you have the power to add an extra Oscar nomination to the Best Picture Actress and Actor categories for films people you feel missed out. What would you add and why? That's a very interesting question, and I actually had to do some research on that. So one of them would be Best Dance Direction, which was actually a category they used to have, and that was only from 1935 to 1937, so it only was around for 2 years. But I definitely would love to see that. You know, there are certain musical films that by luck happen to be nominated at the Oscars, and I don't feel that they really acknowledge all the work that goes into them, because to shoot a film where dancing and choreography like that has to take place, you have to shoot it in a completely different way than you would another film. And yeah, I really think that that's a bit underappreciated. Another would be best stunt coordination or action choreography, and I think it was action choreography has been a category that has been presented to the Academy and was rejected every single year from 1991 to 2012. Again, for very much the same reason as I said with the dance stuff. I often watch an action film and I'm always commenting on the choreography behind the stunts and the action and the fight sequences, and then of course how they filmed it and all those things, and it so doesn't get recognized. It's not the same as, you know, for example, The Room. Trying to film something like that versus, this would never get nominated for an Oscar, I'm just saying, but versus something like the Bourne films, there's a completely different style, there's a completely different way of filming it, and not to mention you have to have meticulous choreography planned out. You have to, the stunt people have to know what they do. There's a stunt choreographer, there's everything, and it doesn't feel like those specific fields get appreciated when they really deserve to. Levi asks, if someone made a biopic of your life, what actress would play you, who would direct it, who would write it, and what would the title be? Can you give us the elevator pitch? Elevator pitch we'll start with, because honestly, I can't think of anything. I don't think my story is very much like a lot of other people's stories. It's depressing, and I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to watch a story of my life. It's bad enough that I've lived my life. But actress, I've said this before, Emily Browning. She is an Australian actress, also from Melbourne. I only found that out this year. She is a phenomenal actress, so underrated. She has intelligent choices in her acting. She has incredible range. I love that even when she started acting at such a young age, she was very mature for her age and completely understood the concepts that she was delivering as an actress. So I would absolutely love her to play me. Director, Stacey Tidal. I actually really like her as an actor, as a director, especially her work ethic. You know, everybody has some bad films, and we're not going to talk about that one bad film that she did that I'm not happy with. Writer, Sergio G. Sanchez. Oh, I would want him. I love the work of his that I've seen. Is so emotionally powerful and really gets you thinking. So I would absolutely, if someone was going to write the script to my life, I would definitely pick him. Title, The Whitewater Star. That means nothing to any of you, but actually the Whitewater Star is my Chinese numerology star sign, which is the number 1, which is called the Whitewater Star, and it has a yin-yang symbol, which is called Ka'an. And actually, that is what is on the back of my neck. So, I don't know, it sounds unique, and I don't know, represents me. Also represents a good other chunk of the world's population, but I don't know. It sounds very much like a obscure movie title, so we'll go with that one. Peggy asks, what is your favorite decade of movies? 90s. Max asks, what's your favorite action movie one-liner? That's easy. Bruce Willis in Die Hard as John McClane. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Fiona asks, one of my favorite genres is found footage, handheld camera films like Chronicle, Cloverfield, Troll Hunter, and Monsters. Which is your favorite film from this genre? Easy question to answer. None. Because found footage and handheld camera films are actually my most disliked genre of all movie genres. The only film from that category that I will even tolerate is The Blair Witch Project, and yet the more I watch it, the more I start to dislike it, because ultimately by the end of it I end up with far more questions than I do answers. Aside from that, every other film that I have watched in that category I have had a strong dislike of, or flat out hate for. And I still watch them. I will still give them a go. I'm still waiting for that one film that will come along and I will go, I found one I like, but it hasn't happened yet. Matt asks, has any movie ever made you cry uncontrollably? I'm a crier. I'm a big time crier, so a lot of films have made me cry uncontrollably. But to date, the one that has made me cry the most is 2016's Me Before You. I was misled. You watch the trailers and you think it's going to be like one of those films where, you know, he's a cripple, he's miserable, but she comes into his life, changes his attitude, and suddenly he has a new zest for life, and he will fight to live and he will fight to get better, and by the end of it he does manage to get better. Yeah, that's not what this was. I cried for 2 days after I watched that movie. It was so traumatic. And yeah, I'm never watching it again. Jared asks, what is the first movie you remember watching? 1942's Bambi. And I never watched it again. Markus asks, who or what inspired you to start reviewing movies and TV? Actually, that would be a friend of mine. His name is Rolando, and he just knew I loved movies. He knew I loved talking about movies. He sometimes would come to me and ask me, oh, what movies do you recommend? I feel like watching something. And I talked about movies so much, and I had been the person over the years people would come to for movie advice. So he was basically, he's like, why don't you write reviews? And I'm like, oh, I couldn't do that, you know, professionally. And he's like, why not? It would be fun. And then I eventually went, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And then I did it, and I'm still doing it. MercWithAMovieBlog asks, what type of gear do you use for your videos? Well, for software, I use Wondershare Filmora. Really simple to use if you've never used any type of editing software, which, like me, I never had, and I heard that this was one of the easiest ones to use, and I got it, and it was true. It's super easy to follow, to understand, and you get really used to how it works. Even when it updates, you're like, yep, cool, you catch on really quick. As for camera, that thing that I'm using right there, Canon Vixia HF R700. Oh, and I have a tripod and a green screen, but I think that kind of goes without being said. A different Jonathan asks, what movie twist surprised you the most? Ooh, 2007's The Orphanage. Now, I had to do a lot of thinking about this one because, and this is part of why I gave myself the name The Movie Oracle, and it's because I'm someone who in the first couple minutes of a film I can predict and see how it will end. But, and although that usually counts for most films, when I was watching The Orphanage, or El Orfanato, I got to the end of the film and they reveal everything that's happened. I'm like, that is not where I thought this was going. I was absolutely crushed, devastated, destroyed. I don't think I could ever watch it again, but brilliantly written, brilliantly directed. But yeah, I didn't see that twist coming. PurpleBoy asks, what is the one thing you hope to accomplish on your channel and what made you want to start one? I started one because I thought that there were things I can do via video that I can't do in the written form. I get to showcase a little bit more. Not to mention there are some people who prefer to watch versus read, and I kind of wanted to appeal to everybody. But as for what I'm hoping to get out of my channel, I really want to bring back that sense of community to YouTube. I want it to be fun and happy and everybody's included, but get rid of that hate. YouTube, despite how many people are on YouTube and how diverse it is, as soon as you start scrolling through those comments, you get a lot of nasty, closed-minded people, and I want things to be a bit more open-minded again. And you know, it starts with how you conduct yourself. You can't control what other people do, but you can control what you do, how you interact with people, how you respond to people, and how you treat people. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we can, hopefully with some help, we can turn it into a nicer place, because I really don't like some of the things that I see, not just on my own channel, but when I go to other people's channels. There's no need for the hatred that is there in the comments. You know, people who go around disliking videos just because they didn't like one thing a person said, or they didn't like the topic of the video. That's not a reason to dislike it. That's not a reason to go and, you know, do that to other people. It's, you know, dislike it because you didn't like the audio or the video quality, or you thought something that they said was inaccurate, or they misrepresented themselves. You know, you can't really hate someone for example, someone doing a Tomb Raider review and you just don't agree with their opinion. They didn't false advertise, they didn't do anything. It's just, yeah, I just wish that the sense of community and kindness towards others was a lot stronger. Caleb asks, what is your most unpopular movie opinion? How long you got? Because there's a lot of them. The most negative feedback I have ever gotten on a review is my 2016 YouTube review of The Curse of Sleeping Beauty. I hated this movie. My opinion on that is not going to change. I gave plenty of details as to why I did. That's my opinion, and you don't have to agree with that. I'm not asking you to. If you love it, I'm very happy that you did. Unfortunately for me, I didn't. That video is one of my most viewed videos, but it's also my most disliked video. It has 21 dislikes, and ever since I posted it, I have gotten nothing but vitriol and venom spewed at me. And usually people are like, well, you know, I loved it, so if you didn't, keep your mouth shut, okay? I'm like, that's not quite how the world works, but okay. On that, I've been called fat, ugly, bitch. One person even accused me of thinking all Muslims are terrorists, despite the fact in the video I never mentioned Muslims or terrorists. So that was weird. Yeah, it's just kind of gone on. A lot of people, I didn't know that it would have such a strong fan base, and that is great that it did, but yeah, I'm not one of the people who liked it. I mean, I even got trashed by the composer of the film. But that was highly unnecessary and very unprofessional on his part. But yeah, Curse of Sleeping Beauty. Tyler asks, who is your favorite director, and also are there any critically acclaimed directors you find overrated or just don't really like any of their films? Well, my favorite director is actually Zhang Yimou, and well, some people may know him as the director of The Great Wall, which I actually enjoyed. I'm more of a fan for his Chinese works like The Curse of the Golden Flower, Hero. I think did he do House of Flying Daggers? I can't remember, but he has an incredible eye. I love the way his films tell these really beautiful stories. The use of color in his films is always so intense, so vibrant, and they're really eye-catching. And yeah, he's just incredible. So he's definitely one of my favorites. What was it? Directors you find overrated or just don't really like any of their films? Yeah, people are gonna hate me. Christopher Nolan. Sorry, I'm not a fan of his. I've never really been a fan of his work. I am, like, I think the Batman trilogy he did is okay, but I have far more issues with it than I do like, so it's definitely not high up on my list. Dylan asks, what would be your favorite cinematography in a film? Oh, it is currently 2017's Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. This is actually the first film I have ever watched where as I'm watching it, I went, oh my god, the cinematography is stunning. If you haven't seen it, please, please, please go and watch this movie, because even if you don't enjoy the story, my brother didn't. He didn't even make it halfway. He missed all the really interesting stuff. But the cinematography alone is absolutely stunning. Please check this. Jamie asks, favorite Drag Race star from any season? I love you, Jamie. Thank you for that question. Well, you know, it goes without being saying RuPaul. I've been a fan of RuPaul since before Drag Race ever started. I love him. I love his wisdom. I could listen to him talk forever. He's brilliant. He's, you know, some people worship Oprah. I worship RuPaul. But if we're talking about contestants, then the answer is Bianca Del Rio. I have had the luxury of seeing Bianca Del Rio live 3 times. Once was just her performing at the club, but it was her doing a stand-up routine, because that's the kind of queen that she is. But the other time it was at an actual proper venue, and then the time after that, which was in November last year, and she just gets better. The comedy, there's still things that you recognize, but it's always tweaked, and she ups the ante, and I absolutely live for Bianca. I want her to read me to filth. That would give me life. Thank you so much to everybody who submitted questions. I had a lot of fun answering them. Some of them quite interesting, some of them a little in-depth, and some of them might have people hating me by the end of this video. If you're not already and you've just clicked on this video, then please subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, thank you again. I really can't thank you enough. It means the world to me. Don't forget to like this video, drop a comment down below, and I can't wait to hopefully hit my next milestone. Until next time, bye.